Thanks so much to all of you who've made our films possible. We really appreciate all the support we've received. And this week's edition is very special because it's all about the connections that have been made through Overlanding using one truck, 3 owners who've all become friends. The truck is the main feature because it's traveled Africa 5 times, thousands of kilometers. And these 3 people not only have become friends, but they were all prepared by Paul Marsh for their trip. The truck was prepared by Paul, and all of us have now become friends. So we'd like to introduce this fireside chat to you, and we'd just love to share their story. Oh, that's amazing, everybody. Thanks so much for making the effort for us all to be together. And you, different parts of the world, some on holiday, and everybody's doing different things. So really appreciate you all making the time to join us to make another epic story. This is really an epic story.
Yeah. Well, I was looking through some previous notes, and I was just thinking what sort of places we might have all actually landed up in at some point on our trip. And I have some photos that you guys had sent through, and the one that sprung to mind was Green Turtle Lodge in Ghana. We all stopped by there, didn't we?
Everyone goes there.
So you've all been there individually, but the truck's been there 3 times. I mean, that's an amazing thing. Will, when did you get the truck first?
I think 2008.
No, it was 2008 because I remember I looked back on the photograph. So yeah,
okay.
2008.
You called your truck Mind the Elephant. How did you get...
we called the trip Mind the Elephant. The truck itself we called Stanley.
Stanley.
Just because it's a good solid name. Yeah, Mind the Elephant was kind of a mind the gap because we were in London. And elephants, obviously Africa. So
that's awesome.
Throw the 2 together.
Clever.
In those days, I don't know if it's still the case, but everyone always does a blog or whatever for the trip and it has some kind of name behind it.
I came across your blog and I assume Paul, I contacted you and you said you just finished it. And I've seen in your blog you mentioned Paul Marsh, Footloose 4x4. And I think that's when I contacted Paul, if I recall, and asked Paul, what is this truck like? And Paul, of course, he said it was a good truck, which is, I think then we arranged to get the truck shipped back from Cape Town to the UK. You delivered it to Paul, didn't you?
Yes, yeah.
And then, on his inspection of the truck, I think I purchased that off you, and then I started my journey with Paul to fix the truck up with whatever changes we needed to do.
You never want to always show someone what the truck's been through. Simon is looking for a truck. It's a good truck. I think it's good. We'll see if it gets back to London what it's really like. But no, the truth of the matter, it is an 80 series, and they are, we could say from all of the people who've used it, pretty bulletproof. And I think the fixing up of any truck just goes to prove how you can build a truck back up. You can sort it out. You can fix it up for another amazing trip. Now, if you think of 3 trips through West Africa, you couldn't put more punishment on a truck if you tried. When I look at where it's gone through, and I saw the one trip from Anton and Tina, and God help them, but if anyone else was to ride off that, and it just drowned the whole bonnet full of water, and Anton was having the time of his life. Tina was... But the truck kept going.
Not me, no.
Well, you might have done the same, but of course, I think what really amazes me is here's a unique vehicle that's a good overland truck, been well prepared a good number of times, and you guys did incredible trips. West Africa is tough. It's one of the toughest journeys in the world to accomplish, from an emotional point of view, from a truck point of view, from being alone. So Simon had the next challenge, and it was an interesting one for Simon because he had this big dream to drive not just the West Coast but back up the East Coast, and that was again quite a big accomplishment. Very few people get to circumnavigate Africa in that way.
You called it proper job. Where did that name come? Tell us about that.
It's a colloquial phrase from like the 1600s. Proper job in Cornwall meant everything was good in the world. The fishing was good, the mining was good, and the farming was good. Then everything was good, and they used to say proper job. And also we have a very nice beer here, one of my favourite beers in my local pub is called Proper Job. So yeah, it was one of those moments I was in the pub looking for a name, and someone said to me, why didn't you just name this Proper Job? And I thought, well, it actually encompasses a lot what I love about Cornwall, the mining, the fishing, the farming, and the meaning of it, that if everything's going well in life, then it's Proper Job, and that's why I called it that.
And what was it like to give Proper Job over to a new owner? Or not?
It's awful. It's awful. You get very attached to these trucks. I still today am more attached to Proper Job than my new truck.
Really?
And that, I think, Paul, you did for me in 2012, that truck, right? I'm nowhere near as attached to that as I was the old Proper Job.
Yeah, I wouldn't have sold it if we could afford not to sell it. But
I think Will's right. If you can, any truck you let go has a history and a memory. I know each truck I've let go I've always wanted to go to someone who really values the truck, and knowing it's going to be looked after, loved and cared for and enjoyed, So I remember my first Hilux went to a couple in England, and he regrets selling it. He says it was the best truck he ever owned.
I was going to share this with you later, but Hannah wrote this towards the end of our trip, an ode to a Land Cruiser.
Well, it's so good to see that silver box on the top, because that was one of the things that sold me on the car. Obviously, it's used for storage, but someone had put handles on it. And I always wanted to be able to sit on top of the car and ride, with a high view while someone else is driving. And someone had already set that up. So it was brilliant. We could just sit up there, hold on and take in the view.
Yeah, Paul put that on because that was, I think the entire roof was the tent when we bought the car, because it was kitted out for 4 people. So Paul recommended a good steel box on top for storage.
I think I remembered we saw the vehicle in the yard. I think you had it there already.
Yeah.
Yes. And actually you said to us, I think I've got the truck for you. And you said, come here at the back and have a look. And it wasn't looking great. I think it must have just gotten back from Simon, and it was, parked in between. It was definitely nothing we envisioned or pictured.
No.
But you said, I think this is the truck for you. And at the time it didn't speak to us yet, I can tell you. But obviously we trusted you, and you were absolutely right. That was the truck for us and for our trip. So I'm glad we went with your suggestion. And it's often not necessarily what you see at the beginning, what is actually what you need and what you get.
That's true. I think, when you look at a truck like that, it is difficult because you saw it at its worst. It wasn't clean, it wasn't prepped. People look at, you often make a judgment on what you first see. But your needs were so different. You were going to travel West Africa. You needed an automatic, and you just the whole thing. And your trip is epic. All of your trips are so different in so many ways, and I think that's what's so incredibly unique in a way that we could all sit down and probably spend a weekend just sharing, talking ideas, experiences over a map.
So you moved the truck from Proper Job to Ndlovu. How did that come about?
Well, we were thinking of names. I think we debated it and talked around the names for quite some time. And we were looking for an African name. It was going to be in Africa. So Ndlovu is a Swahili word, and it means something along the lines of the unstoppable elephant. And when we understood that, it immediately clicked, because the car's grey, it's big, it's in Africa. Hopefully it was going to be unstoppable. That was our intention, and that actually worked out exactly like that. The truck was certainly the third team member, and we often said that. It was 3 of us really who were doing the trip.
Yeah.
And that also, the name that we chose gave it that personality as well. So we felt we were with this third team member.
What was it like to part company with Ndlovu?
We had to let it go. It was so broken by the time we got to Cape Town. We had to have the car taken away. We sold it, and the guy came with a flatbed truck to put it on there and take it to the garage, because it just did not drive anymore. It didn't even start anymore. You couldn't stir it anymore. It was totally broken. This poor car. We felt for it, but it was done. It was really in a bad state.
Now, you know what? When I went to see this truck in Cape Town, And then I think, oh, I think, we could keep this truck and fix it up. And I took one look underneath and everything, and I thought, no, this truck's
no.
letting this one go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we our parking was in an underground garage, and the truck was too high with the roof rack and tent and so on to actually get under. So we couldn't actually store the car. We had to park it on the street. And what happened is we just put a little for sale sign in the window. And some English guy just walked past one day and thought, this is the truck for me. And he called us and checked it out and everything. And we were, it was obvious that it couldn't be driven. And he was aware of all the technical issues and things that needed to be fixed. But he fell in love with it straight away. And he was, yes, I'll buy it and I'll take it to the workshop and I'll have it fixed up. And his idea was then to drive it up into the Congo. And he'd been there before, and he had another truck there, and he wanted to carry a whole bunch of spare parts from South Africa up into the Congo so he could fix his other truck, which was still stuck there. So we felt like this is great. This is actually passing the truck on to someone else who was going to take care of it and build it up and then take it back into Africa, which is where the truck belonged. I mean, it had just been doing so many of these trips. So from my side, I felt this was the perfect way to hand the truck on.
I think that's so important, because it's like anything. You would hate to have the truck taken and pulled apart and sold for spares. You'd never want that. I wouldn't. And
Yes.
the fact that it's gone back to a home and been put to good use, it's like taking anything. It's got a story, it's got a history, it's got a soul.
It's
And
a legacy.
That's what we all live with. That your truck has a soul. It's looked after you, it's protected you. Yeah. Well, how special.
I know the owner took a long time. He didn't actually fix it up straight away, and it was a long process to get repairs. And I wondered what happened to the truck. So I actually called up the mechanic or the owner of that shop just 2 weeks ago, and asked him what happened. And he said, "Well, no, the guy who had bought it didn't actually decide to drive it back up into Congo. He left it there." And it was then resold, and by pure coincidence, a Congolese man bought it, and he was then going to drive it into the Congo. So it's just passed on, but whoever buys it always sees it as an opportunity to drive through Africa, and that's the last I've heard. So as of sort of 10, 14 days ago, this is what the truck has been bought for and is doing.
So great that you tracked it down right to the most recent. So 2008, we're looking at 14 years on, and the legacy of Stanley, Proper Job, Ndlovu, and whatever it will be named now, the legacy lives on. Isn't that amazing? Thanks for finding that, Anton.
Now, it's been pretty unique, guys, to share back some of the history. It certainly brought back some fantastic memories for me. I mean, I always look at it as a privilege to take someone's dreams and help turn it into reality. It always takes a team to build any vehicle and work with you. But it's just been so inspirational watching people grow as they take on the challenges. Overlanding is one life experience, and we always come back different. We come back with new thoughts, new ideas, new takes, sometimes a whole new lifestyle. And that for me is very, very powerful.
I actually wanted to ask Paul, it's like, I mean, you are really the center point of this. And so you've heard all of our stories, and the truck, and you rebuild it for all of us. And I was just wondering how you feel about it. And I mean, yes, like you said, what a privilege to get very close to each of our individual journeys, which were so epic for each one of us for different reasons. And yeah, I wonder how you feel about this and how you value this.
It's a great question, and I can tell you, there's not many times in one's life where you get to be quite intimate and close with a couple, because you really do. You get to know your fears, your concerns, what's worked, when there's problems, when the things have gone wrong, and you spend a lot of time. I mean, I think with each of you, we probably spent 6 months to a year preparing the vehicle and yourselves. And not that it took that long to build the truck, but it takes time to put everything in place to go and do a trip like this. So, you build a lifelong relationship with people, and some, I definitely have kept in touch with, and some maybe not. But the point is, it is a privilege. It kind of reaches into my soul and touches me every time I see people achieve their dreams. because that's what I chase. I've chased my own dreams because I believe you should always have a dream. You should live with a dream, that you look at your life and say, what would I like to do? And it's not a tick box exercise. It's about the dream that fulfills you as a person. And now for Joe and I, it's a dream we share to go back and do more travel as we've done individually and together. But the travel is just a vehicle, like the Land Cruiser. It's a vehicle that allows us to go and have these amazing experiences. And it's one opportunity when you get to drive away, in words, from your life and look back on your life. And when you come back, that process of reintegrating back into your life is quite critical, because you make decisions and choices at that point in your life, which may shape how you live the rest of your life. You know, I think for me, I've seen so many people's lives change direction, come back, and they've sold up stuff and they've downsized and they've changed what they do and they've given up the careers they were following because their values changed, their ideas changed. And that's beautiful. So yeah, I get to witness the beginning, the during some of it, and the after. And if I'm very fortunate, I love to hear the stories, because that for me was always the best and still is. So yeah, thanks guys. Thanks, Tina. That's a great question.
So I think that's a great way to conclude is, how has this way of traveling and experiencing life influenced the way you all live your lives today?
I thought about it during the talk, and I actually think for me the journey did change my comfort zone. It definitely grew. So I've got a bigger zone I feel comfortable in. However, I think it didn't change me so much as a person. It more confirmed the person I am. So I didn't come into it as a person who didn't like camping, or who didn't like driving cars, or who didn't like experiencing a bit of adventure. I've always been a person like that. And I think that's why I've chosen to do this trip. And I do believe, you know, majority of people who choose such a intense way of travel, you know, there are a certain type of people, you know. So for me, coming out of it was really just confirming who I am.
I want to go and do it again, to be honest. Just having 2 young children makes it a bit more tricky. But hopefully one day I probably agree with what Simon says earlier, and I would probably not do West Africa again. Glad I did it. Tick that box. Great experience, but really hard work. But Southern Africa is so accessible and diverse, and there's just so much to see and do. And it'll be a great experience to do with the kids at a time in their life that they can, you know, remember it and properly experience it.
I think it just made me want to do more. I'd been building up to it for so long. I mean, this was a lifelong dream. As a kid, I always wanted to travel across Africa. And finally, having done it, it was, you know, the sense of yes and excitement and accomplishment, and just wanting to go back, really. Do other types of overlanding trip, transcontinental trips, that kind of thing. So, you know, we've done other trips since then, not in the same way. But that whole idea of the unknown, the adventure, seeking something new, meeting new people, the dynamic of change that comes through these types of travels. So, yeah, in a similar way, it confirmed what I also already felt about myself and the excitement that I had for these kind of travels. But yeah, I think just going out there and having more of it, really.
And what about you, Simon? I mean, you've got your truck here, you come back annually, but how's it changed or confirmed the way you live your life?
Well, I think starting the journey with Proper Job, it built up my own confidence in overcoming obstacles and situations that were, you know, you can't plan for. I'm a very planned person. I like to have A, B, C, D, E in my life all sort of set out. So when you go on a trip like this, you don't really have that. So you learn to navigate around, and gives you confidence to be able to handle situations. I definitely became more aware of the environment and more appreciative of what I had living in the UK to what I saw going around Africa. Going forward, I realized that if I wanted to continue doing this, I had to keep fit. So it led me on to a whole, like a bit of a life-changing regime where I had to, motivate myself and take on a number of different activities, from sea swimming to kayaking to cycling, etc. So I can keep my fitness up, so I can continue doing this till, I was planning hopefully till I'm 65, and that would be a time to review it all. So it changed me a lot in my outlook on life and looking after my health.
So it's not just about looking after the truck, actually, it's about looking after self so that the partnership can travel successfully together.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's great. Well, listen, we both really honor and respect all of your time and energy and sharing.
I'm hoping we can all meet at some point in physical form, either drinking a proper job in the UK somewhere or having a braai here in South Africa.
Let's put that down. Will,
Put
you've
that
got a
out
plan,
there.
and we've got a plan.
Oh yeah, I'll pop down for the weekend or whatever. But, yes.
Buddy.
So it'll be good to meet everyone in person.
Lovely.
Okay.
All right. Nice to see you all.
Have a lovely,
Take care. Thank you very much.
great weekend.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much to all of you who've made our films possible. We really appreciate all the support you've given us. If you'd like to continue this journey with us, please like and subscribe or support us through Patreon.